Want to ask, how many of you in the room use GPS on a regular basis? You use GPS on a regular basis? All right. How many of you are too good for GPS? Raise your hand. A couple of you, I figured. Some of the students, of course, right? You don't use GPS on your bicycle. Nice. So some of you remember the days before GPS, right? I mean, you remember what it would take when you'd actually pull out a map. Anybody remember those days where you'd do that? Yeah, a few of us, we're the old people, right? We remember those days. What would happen, for those of you who don't know, is what would happen is before you went on a journey, you would pull out a map or an atlas. Now, you'd always want to pull it out before you're on your journey, because if the person in the passenger seat pulled it out when you were on your journey, nobody was going to be able to see out the front windshield. So you'd pull out this massive map, and there were roads, and what you'd figure out where you want to go, and then you'd figure out where you are in relation to where you want to go, and the best track to kind of get you there, all the roads you need to take to get you there. And once you've kind of figured all those things out, then it was time to hop on your dinosaur, and you could make the journey, right? Because it was that long ago that we had maps. It feels like it. It wasn't actually that long ago. But, we think about it for just a moment, like what it looks like for us, for you, and for me when we need to go on a journey. What do we do when we try to go on a journey? We're going to look for directions. Now, I'm not very good with directions. Anybody not very good with directions? Okay, anybody really good with your directions? All right, we're going to test everybody. All you guys just raise your hand. We're going to find out if you're really, all right? So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to ask you in just a second, not yet. I'm going to ask everybody to close your eyes, no helping each other. I'm going to ask everybody to close your eyes, and then when I count to 3, everybody is going to point straight to the east, all right? Don't help anybody right now, okay? Straight to the east. All right, everybody close your eyes. When I count to 3, by the way, not a small point, like a big, I'm confident point, all right? On 3, 1, 2, 3, point to the east. All right, open your eyes. Everybody open your eyes. See where everybody's pointing. All right, some people got it really right. Now, east is not really that way. It's kind of that way, due east. But so a lot of you got it right. Some of you literally went exactly the opposite direction. I'm not going to say who went the exact opposite direction, but some of you are really bad. I'm not very good at that. You could take my wife. She has a compass in her brain. Okay, you could take her, blindfold her, fly her around the world 700 times, then drop her in the middle of a dense jungle and be like, hey, you need to head to the east. And she would, pull out the blindfold. She'd look around. She'd go, all right, we got to go this way. I mean, that's how fast it is. It doesn't matter where it is. She knows what direction she is heading at all times. Now, on June the 20th of 2003, I was supposed to get married to a girl I knew in college. We had gotten engaged. And we were still in college. We were supposed to get married. And it was a night wedding in Northeast Oklahoma City. I went to school in Oklahoma. And in Northeast Oklahoma City, we were supposed to get married. And that day, I'd gone and hung out with my groomsmen and stuff because it was a night wedding. Wanted to kind of take up the day. Did some games, fun games, miniature golf, go-karts, that kind of thing. And I was going to go to the church really early so I could kind of get cleaned up and get ready to go. Well, what happened, I was kind of distracted on the road, but what happened was I didn't realize the highway that I was on had split, and so I went the wrong direction. And I didn't realize it for a really long time. And so I didn't just go the wrong way, I went a long way the wrong way, and it created a lot of problems. Now, it's helpful to know where you're going. It's helpful to know where the roads are taking you. Now, whether it's the jungle, you're in the middle of a jungle, you need to know which way to go. Whether it's on a road and you actually need to know which way to go, or in your life, all of us need wisdom to navigate where we're trying to go. It's really critical that we have wisdom, because all I had done was I took one wrong turn, and it created a lot of problems for me. Now, you and I make decisions in our lives that set up the course and the direction we are headed in our life. And so one wrong decision can actually cause a lot of problems for you and for me. Now, it's really easy to make a wrong turn. It's really easy in life to go the wrong way. It's really easy to get caught on the wrong road, on the wrong path, on the wrong track, where you're not headed toward where you think you were headed, or you're not headed toward where you really want to be headed. Sometimes we know it, and sometimes we don't. But it's easy not just to go the wrong way. It's easy, once we make those decisions to go the wrong way, to go a long way the wrong way. And to be stuck on that road for a long time. And to even, for some of us, not even know how to get back. Not even be certain how to get back. Now, That day that I got lost on my wedding day, eventually I found the right road. I made it to the right church and married the right girl. I mean, we got married. It is my wife. Some of you guys are like, what? So it is my wife, and we got married. It worked out well. But the truth is, the direction we take and the decisions we make don't just impact us. They impact other people around us. The decisions you make will impact your family. The decisions you make will impact your friends. They'll impact your coworkers. They'll impact the people that you lead, the people that you follow. It'll impact our city. It'll impact your community. It'll impact your school, your workplace, your neighborhood. The decisions that we make impact all of those around us at all times. So it's really critical that you and I are confident in the direction and the decisions we make as we try to properly navigate through our life. So how can we be confident? Because to navigate life the way we are intended to, we need great wisdom. It requires wisdom on every single level, at every single moment. So where do you and I find wisdom to navigate life? If you want wisdom to navigate your life, where are you going to look to find that wisdom? Now, first, obviously, we're always going to turn to God's word. So this morning, that's where we're turning. As we look for wisdom this morning and ask God to help us as we look towards navigating our life and say, God, I want wisdom. I do need wisdom. All of us in this room need wisdom. So we're going to turn to God's word like we do every single week, because that's where wisdom is going to come from. And we're going to come back to it. We'll circle back to kind of what that looks like. But today we're going to focus in on one area. The book of Proverbs is known as the book of wisdom. It's a great book of wisdom. There's a couple different books that are considered books of wisdom, but when I was in high school, I had somebody tell me, say, if you want wisdom in your life, spend time in the book of Proverbs. There's 31 Proverbs. They said, whatever day of the month it is, just open that proverb. And so there was a season of my life where I would do that. I still do that off and on at different times, but there was an entire year where every time I opened up my Bible, I'd say, all right, what day is it? I'm going to open up to that proverb. And I would just pour myself over those and allow them to pour over me and say, God, I want you to give me wisdom. So if you and I want wisdom, we can look in the book of Proverbs. It's a great place to be. But we're going to look at one specific area that Proverbs says over and over again. Starting in Proverbs 11, verse 14. It says, where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there is victory. This word guidance, it says where there is no guidance, it's a nautical term. Solomon was writing this proverb. He's using a nautical term that means the steering of a ship. When there is no steering of the ship, now you remember back in those days, it's not just a steering wheel. There's a whole lot of pieces that go into steering a ship, right? He says, where there is no guidance, people fall, but in abundance of counselor, there is victory, or the other word is deliverance there. Solomon's saying that the steerings or counsel of advisors can be helpful, and a wise person is open to the advice and the counsel of other people. Without such counsel, you can make serious mistakes. Proverbs 20:18 says, plans succeed through good counsel. Don't go to war without wise advice. Proverbs 24:5-6 says, a wise man is strong, and a man of knowledge increases power. For by wise guidance you will wage war, and in abundance of counselors there is victory. Proverbs 12, verse 15 says, fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. Over and over and over and over again, we see in this book of wisdom that for you and I to navigate with wisdom, we're going to need the counsel of others. On October 14th, 1962, a U.S. spy plane was taking a high-altitude flight over Cuba and took photos of Soviet SS-4 medium-range ballistic missile that was being assembled and put together for installation. It was less than 100 miles off the coast of Florida. And that set on a track of events. 2 days later, President John F. Kennedy was made aware of it. He gathered together immediately a bunch of advisors that he called his executive committee or ExComm. They got together and they started discussing this wide variety. What are we going to do? How are we going to respond? What are the things we're going to do? And for 13 days, the United States and the Soviet Union were on the brink of not just a war, but a nuclear war. A major war. It was a crisis unlike many others in the history of the world for those days. And over those days, as they were discussing all of the options, they had options like they talked about bombing the missile sites. They even talked about and discussed a full-fledged invasion of Cuba from the United States military. All these things were on the table, and John F. Kennedy ultimately has to make the decision. So how's he going to make a decision like that when all these options that are critical are on the table, and it sets the course and direction of an entire nation? You want to know what he did? 7 days in, he called 3 former presidents. He called Herbert Hoover, who faced the economic problems of the Great Depression. He called Harry Truman, who ended World War II. And then he called Dwight Eisenhower, who had served as the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. And each of them had valuable insights to share. And after a lot of counsel, they determined a balanced course of action. And what they ended up doing was setting up a Navy blockade to make sure that they couldn't bring in anything else. And then he wrote a letter to Khrushchev, the leader in the Soviet Union, and said, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to remove these existing missiles. And through all of that, after getting much counsel, they basically diffused the crisis, and the nuclear war was prevented. Now, the President of the United States needed wise counsel from other people. Did you know that presidents and leaders of nations need wise counsel? Just because they're at the top of their nation doesn't mean they don't need wise counsel. Did you know that leaders of cities need organizations, leaders of state need wise counsel, organizations, all these different people, we need wise counsel. If you're a leader of your family, if you're a leader in a school, if you're a leader of students, you're a leader of people, leader of coworkers, or even if for some of you say, I don't lead anybody, guess what? You still get to lead the course of your own life. You get to make decisions. All of us need wise counsel. I want to pause for just a second and say, because we know that leaders on every level need wise counsel, you and I should be praying for our leaders. We should be praying for our government leaders. We should be praying for our president. We should be praying for all these different people, whether you voted for them or not, because all of us want them to have wisdom. We need them to have wisdom, so we should be praying for them. All of us, every single person needs wise counsel. As we navigate through life, we need a lot of help. Proverbs says that one way you and I can find that wisdom we need is by seeking the counsel of others. Now, I asked the question, how many of you use GPS? Now, some of the kids might be familiar with this, but some of you might be. How many of you, when you use GPS, you use the app called Waze? Anybody use the Waze app? Okay, then you know the beauty of the Waze app, right? How many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? All right, I'm about to help you out, okay? I'm here for you. Now, I'm getting paid nothing for this. This is not an advertisement or anything like that. But Waze is a crowdsourcing app. Okay, so what they do is they take all this information from all these people that are on the road, and based on that information, they can actually change the content of what you're getting. If you open up some maps, it'll just say, all right, this is the straight route, this is the fastest route. But if you get on that route sometimes, it's not the fastest route. Waze tries to alleviate some of that stuff through crowdsourcing. A little bit like Wikipedia. The way they describe it is crowdsourcing provides a way for organizations to learn beyond what their base of minds of employees provides. All of us in the room, we need to know beyond what we can know. All of us desperately need to see beyond what our minds can see. And that's the value of Waze, that's the value of crowdsourcing, but it's also the value of godly counsel. Why is that? Because sometimes we can make a mistake. Sometimes we can misunderstand. Sometimes we can see something with our own eyes, and we can look and we can misinterpret what's coming. All of us need wise counsel. We can misinterpret at any time and take a wrong turn. That's the beauty of Waze, is that people who've already been on the road, who've traveled the road, are able to give you information and tell you what's coming. Now, we looked at that picture of the Waze picture. Here's kind of the way it sets up, is you got people that shows people that are on the road, but it has this thing where you can report different things. As you're going down the road, you can hit a report and say, there's a traffic jam right here. You can say, hey, there's a police officer that's right here. I'm sure they love that. You could say there's an accident. You could say there's hazards. Hey, if you go this way, there's a hazard. There's a road. There's a car stopped on the side of the road, or there's, a tire in the middle of the road, those kinds of things. You can even note gas prices or map issues and all that kind of stuff. Here's the beauty of it, that we can see further than what our eyes can see by using something like this. Right? I can have the information of people who have been on the road ahead of me, and have their perspective, a different perspective than what I have. Anybody ever driven and you come up over like a little ridge and all of a sudden all of traffic is stopped on the highway and the exit is like 25 feet behind you? And you're like, if only I knew what was on the other side, I would have exited back there, right? All of us need that, not just on the road, we need that in our lives. Where somebody who's gone ahead of us can say, hey, there's something coming here. I want you to watch out for this. If you continue to head down this road, I want you to get where you're going. I'm trying to get where I'm going. If we're headed the same direction, then I need you to know that this is on that path so that you can choose to go around it. All of us need that as we navigate life. That's the beauty of crowdsourcing. That's the beauty in our lives of seeking godly counsel. Now I want to pause for just a second and talk about a couple dangers. There are a couple of very serious dangers when it comes to this idea. If we don't understand it properly, all of our lives, we constantly need guidance and wisdom. We are constantly at crossroad moments. Did you know it just takes a second to make a bad decision that can destroy your life? It just takes a moment to make a bad decision that can destroy your family, that can destroy a lot of people around you. All of us, at any moment, we can be in those crossroads moments. Now, you might go to lunch, and I'm not talking about that, whether you order chicken or a burger. That's not one of those things. But there's a lot of things that happen to us day in and day out that are crossroad moments that we need to have wisdom so we can navigate it, which means that you and I need to be very wise about the people we allow to speak into our lives. This isn't just random crowdsourcing. It's a little bit different than that. While the Bible makes it clear that the wisdom of others can be helpful, it also talks about how the counsel of the crowd may not be reliable and actually can be dangerous. There's one really big key to understanding the difference. I need everybody to hear this. You have to hear this. If you're a follower of Jesus, you need to understand this. Here's the key to understanding the difference. If you and I remember that there are a whole lot of people in this world who are not on the same road that we're on. If you're a follower of Jesus, you are on a road that not many of the other people in your life are on. When you understand that difference, it changes everything. Because I've seen it happen so many times where people just go after what everybody else says or what everybody else is speaking or saying. I'm just going to follow that path. Let me give you a really obvious example that I've seen many, many times. I'm very passionate about this one, and so if this is an issue for you, I'm sorry, I'm just really passionate about this one. I've seen competitive sports destroy families. I've seen a whole lot of Christians who have given up Sundays to take their family all over the city, all over the state, all over the country, all over the map. And here's what's interesting about it. There are a whole lot of people in our world who don't understand that God has a plan for them. God has a place for them to grow, to learn, and to serve. And God has told them, even in the Ten Commandments, to set aside a day and make it holy unto the Lord. There's a whole lot of people on our planet and in our country who don't understand that. And so they don't know they have a place to be on Sunday morning. And guess what? When you and I choose to follow that same path, we're saying we don't have a place to be too. I'm very, very passionate about this one. Because I've seen how it affects families. I've seen how it affects kids who end up going off to college, who don't have that baseline of understanding of where they need to be and why it's so critical and why it's so important. Here's the thing. What happens is it hurts our witness. Now, I know there's a whole lot of people that say, you know what, I get to minister to those people and things like that. Guess what? You can still have those opportunities. But what you might have a better opportunity is if you say, you know what, this is what's most important in our lives. This is what God has set aside. There's a place that we have to be on Sunday mornings. I might see you on Sunday afternoon, but on Sunday mornings, there's a place I have to be that changes my life because God has called me to be a part of a body. And when we understand that we have a place to be, it helps us out. It helps us share our witness, helps us be a light in a dark space. When we understand and have this picture of understanding, you know what, my life has to look different. If my life looks like everybody else who's not on the same path I'm on, there's probably a problem, right? It could be the movies we watch. It could be the places we go. It could be the things we do. It could be a lot of different things. It could be a million different things. But as followers of Jesus, our lives should look a lot different than those who don't know him. If you're on a path to follow Jesus, your path should look a lot different than a lot of other people. And it's really hard in our world for that to be a reality. It's not easy for that to be a reality in our world. But if you and I want to have a witness for Jesus, that's going to be a big piece of it, that we understand that I'm not going to listen to what everybody else does. I'm not going to base my decisions on what I do in my life or what my family does or what my organization does or what I'm in charge of. I'm not going to make those decisions based on what other people do. I'm going to make them based on what God's word tells me to do. And I'm going to seek godly counsel from other people who are on the same path I'm on. Because the world isn't on the same path. Too often, followers of Jesus take our cues from what other people are doing. Matthew 7 says, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through that. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. I don't know about you, I want to be one of those that finds it. I want my family to be people that find it. Second danger is that there's a lot of people that shop around for counsel when really what they're looking for is for somebody to affirm their feelings, affirm their lifestyle, affirm all these things. And really, they would say, oh, I'm looking for wisdom, I'm looking for counsel, but really what they do is they just want to hear what they want to hear. And so they wait until they find somebody. When they find somebody, they're like, hey, look, they said it, and they agree with me, and so we're good now. Rehoboam, who was the king, son of Solomon. Solomon was king. Rehoboam became king. And here's what happened. He went to his advisors. The people said, how are you going to lead us? And he went to the advisors of his father, the elders who had been a part of the kingdom, who had helped his father lead with great wisdom, the counsel of people that were around him. And they said, you need to serve these people. And he told the people, by the way, he said, go away for 3 days, come back and I'll tell you, I'm going to seek counsel. He sought their counsel and they said, you need to serve these people. If you serve them, they will serve you for the rest of their lives. And he said, I don't want to listen to you. And here's what it actually says in 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 8. It says, but Rehoboam rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. He rejected the advice of the elders and said, you know what, I'm going to go talk to my friends and see what they think. You want to know what his friends said? You need to make sure they know who's king. You need to make sure they know who's boss. You need to tell them that if you thought my father was heavy-handed, I'm 1,000 times more heavy-handed than my father. And guess what he did? He listened to what they said, and it destroyed him, and it destroyed his reign. It destroyed a lot of people because he created those problems because he was just looking for people who agree with what he wanted to do. He started out right. Give me a few days. I want to seek wisdom. Give me a few days. But then he didn't listen to the wise counsel of the people who had walked the road, and he just asked his peers. It's a little dangerous for all of us. So I'll finish with 4 challenges. If you and I want to navigate life with wisdom, 4 things. Where do we start? I said it at the beginning. We start by seeking godly wisdom from God himself. It starts in his word. You and I will find it in his word. It starts in relationship with him, where you and I have a personal relationship with him in his word, personally through prayer and all these other ways that you and I can encounter God. It starts by seeking godly wisdom. If you want it, start with God. It's a great place to start when you're seeking godly wisdom. A guy named Eddie, talking about Waze, actually, he said, it occurred to me that I had made it such a habit to consult Waze first thing when I left my house, but I didn't even bother to first consult God or seek him in quiet prayer before getting up. He said, the first thing I would do when I'd get in my car is I would want my GPS to say, hey, what direction are we going? I need you to help me get there. But I could start my day without saying, God, what direction are we going? I need you to help me get there. How amazing and how much different would it be for you and for me if you and I all, every single day, started our day by saying, God, I need your wisdom today. God, I know I've got plans in my head, but I really want to achieve where you want me to go. That's where I want to go. So God, lead me and guide me and take me where you want me to go. Give me the wisdom I need today. You could do that in 10 seconds. Just acknowledging God that he has a plan for you and saying, God, I want your wisdom today, and then spend the rest of the day walking in the wisdom that he gives you. What if we started our day in prayer that way? It could change everything. Some people turn on news, some people turn on social media, some people turn on all these different things, turn to other people without ever turning to God first. Psalm 23 says, the Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. I want you to know that when God is guiding you, when the Lord is the one guiding your life, you have all that you need. It says, he lets me rest in green meadows, he leads me beside peaceful streams, he renews my strength. He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to his name. First, we seek godly wisdom from God. Then we seek godly wisdom from godly people. You need to find people who are godly people who are on that same path. You say, you know what, you've walked that road that I want to walk, and so I'm going to look to you to be a godly example to me, to be a godly encouragement to me, to walk alongside me. We seek godly wisdom from godly people. The next thing we do, the third thing we do is we listen to that wisdom. When it comes, when we have godly wisdom, we listen to it. And then the last thing, and this applies to all of us at different times, some of us more than others right in this moment, is give wisdom. If you've walked a road, you have wisdom to give. As you try to follow Jesus, if you say, you know what, I've been through a lot in my life, but as I try to follow Jesus, here's what I've experienced. Because there's people coming behind you. You might have gone through a really difficult time in your life. Some of you might be going through it right now. But you might have gone through a difficult time in your life, and there's somebody that needs to hear your story. Somebody that is walking that road now that needs to hear from you. That you can give wisdom and say, hey, don't go that way. I've been that way. Or maybe they're just in a tough time personally and it's not something, a bad decision or anything like that. Maybe it's a sickness and you could say, you know what? I want you to know, just like we sang about earlier, that all my life God has been faithful. I've been where you are. It's a really dark space where you are right now. But I want you to know that God is faithful. I was in that dark space, and now I'm on the backside, and I've gotten to see the faithfulness of God. I've gotten to see the reality of the goodness of God chasing after me. And I want you to know, even though it might not feel like it right now, God's goodness is chasing after you. And you have a path that you've walked. Every one of us at times will have walked a path, whether you're young or old. We have young people who serve younger people. We have old people who serve younger people. Everybody in between. All of us have walked different roads. It's important that every single one of us are a part of this journey where we say, I'm willing to give wisdom. I don't have it all put together. I didn't do it perfect, but here's what I've seen of God and his faithfulness. And we get to share the story of what God has done. We give wisdom to other people. You might be a moment ahead, a minute ahead, a month ahead, millennia ahead, it doesn't matter. Your wisdom and experience is priceless to those coming behind you. Our view is so limited. We don't need the thoughts of those who are on the road next to us. We need those who've gone before us. Hebrews 12 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. The chapter right before it was all these people who'd run the race. They all did it imperfectly, which is great for me because I could say, you know what? God used these people and they did it imperfect because I know that I'm imperfect. So if God could use them, maybe he could use me too. If God could take them on that path, maybe he could take me on that path too. So we look at that crowd of witnesses, that cloud of people that have gone before us, and we find it in his word, we find it in history, we find it in this room. This crowd of witnesses, and we say, you know what? These are people that are walking alongside me, that are encouraging me, that I can pull off and throw away everything else that would slow me down so I can run the race that God has marked out for me. God has a plan and a path for you that he has marked out, and you can run it with endurance while seeking godly counsel all along the way. And then the key part of it is, he said, keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and the champion or the perfecter, the finisher, the completer of our faith. He's run that race. If you and I want to live and navigate our lives with wisdom, if we want to walk in God's ways, this is how we do it. We get to do it together. We get to do it with other people. Everybody coming in to say, I'm going to offer whatever God has for me. I'm going to listen to the wise people around me, the people who've gone before me, the people who are walking the journey, because we're headed the same direction. This body is headed the same direction. None of us perfect. But when all of us choose to do this, to walk in God's ways, to walk in his wisdom, to navigate this crazy life that we have to navigate, then we get to experience something amazing. We get to experience the joy of being on journey with Christ together. So let's be people that do that for his glory.